you have a concern or question. I'm afraid the nurses probably wouldn't appreciate that, but I think we absolutely need to make that crystal clear to them that I want them to call at any time. The physicians are in backup to the nurses. I personally, in the 15 years that I've been at Planned Parenthood, perhaps on 20 or 25 occasions, have come in on a night or a weekend to see a patient in a clinic who is concerned or appears to be having a complication after an abortion procedure. Time and distance are always a factor there. I have sent patients to the emergency department because that was the appropriate response. The vast majority of the time, it's simply a matter of assessing by telephone triage, as we do in so many areas of medicine today, how heavy is the bleeding? And the standard that we use is, are you soaking 2 pads an hour for 2 hours or more? If they meet or exceed that, that is heavy bleeding in my opinion, and it requires medical attention. But often simply reassurance and education to the patient is all that's actually needed.
But you are not on call for these patients if they have a problem. You diagnose the medicine, and there's a number that you call that's a national number, but they can't call you directly back.
It's actually within our affiliate, within Planned Parenthood, the Heartland. It's one of our nurses that I worked with and was involved with training with, and they do call me. Because of my side, family practice, the reality is that I've been on call most of the time for my 15 years. It's rare that I'm not. So I will have days where the majority of my in-clinic experience will be with providing medication abortions. I'll have other days where the experience is leaning toward suction D&C with a surgical procedure. It appears that the trend has certainly been increasing access at an earlier stage in the pregnancy, and so the opportunity for medication abortion, as opposed to only having the option of a procedure, has increased to the patients. There's a larger percentage of our patients that have the option of choosing either one. And I think that has resulted in a greatly increased number of them electing to have the medication abortion. I go back far enough to where we used methotrexate, and that was certainly problematic at best, although it still has an important role in ectopic pregnancies, but really has been totally supplanted by the increased safety and effect of mifepristone. I would guess personally 50-50. It is very close to 50%. That may not carry out throughout the affiliate, however. I can't speak to that.
This comes up for an abortion in the Des Moines office or here when you're here. How long do they stay after administering medication, and how often does the abortion happen while they're there at the clinic itself?
As it is currently being provided, I've never heard of an incident of a patient having the abortion, having the quote-unquote miscarriage experience. I've been vilified for using that term, but I think it's one we all understand, in the clinic. It simply does not work that fast with mifepristone. So typically, they may only be in the clinic a few minutes after I've dispensed and watched them take the mifepristone, regardless of whether it's done by telemedicine or in person. And the bleeding and the cramping, what I think you're asking about, is going to occur after the mesoprostol.
Okay.
24 to 72 hours later, that's me.
Mr. Ross, how long have you been with Planned Parenthood?
Sure, I actually started working with them as a resident. And then when I completed my residency here in Des Moines, I went to work with Planned Parenthood at that time, and I have worked with them since then. So I'm going to be starting my 15th year with them.
15th year, so you started with them what year?
So this is 2013, so that is in 98.
Were you the one who devised this protocol?
Oh, no. No, not at all.
Who devised this protocol?
These protocols are national-based. Our affiliate has input, as all of the affiliates do, but the protocols, the medical standards and practices that we follow and do a lot of auditing to make sure that we follow very closely, those are developed nationally.
And so this procedure, the webcam abortion, was done in other states before it was started here in Iowa in 2008.
But I can't speak to what degree. I believe it has happened, and there may be other folks from a national perspective who could address that much better than I could. Surely Planned Parenthood of the Heartland was a leader in starting this, but would I say it was the first time that it was offered? No, I'm not aware of that being the case, no.
Did you do the first webcam abortion in Iowa?
Did I personally, you're asking? No, sir, I did not.
When did you start doing webcam abortions in Iowa?
It's a good question. I am not sure of the...
Was it around the year that it started?
Oh, yes, shortly after we began offering it, yes, sir.
So how did you know it was going to be safe? You said it hadn't been used in the U.S. before?
You're talking about specifically the telemedicine for abortion services.
The protocol of administering the medicine over the internet, was that used elsewhere before it was used in Iowa?
We used it extensively. The reality is that the steps and the protocol that we follow mirror what we provide in-house. And we've had a great deal of experience providing it in person.
So again, my question was, where was this done before you started doing it in Iowa? That's my question.
And I can't speak with any detail about where else it may have been offered in the U.S. or even in other countries. I just don't have that.
Was Iowa the first place it was used?
It certainly has been the first place that it was broadly used. I believe that is correct.
Was it the first place it was used?
I cannot promise you that. It certainly was one of the earliest places, we can say that for sure.
But you were one of the first ones to start doing it in Iowa.
Absolutely.
How'd you know it was going to be okay? How'd you know it was going to work?
Because we had extensive experience, over 1 million patients who had received mifepristone and misoprostol already at that point for a medication-induced abortion.
But you didn't do it, but it wasn't done remotely. It was done by a physician who examined the patient.
No, because as we've told the board repeatedly, I do not perform a physical exam. I do not do a pelvic exam on the patients that I see in the clinic in person.
You don't do a physical exam on your patients before you do the abortion right there?
We could discuss in detail what constitutes a physical exam, but to answer your question directly, do I do a pelvic exam? No, I do not.
I understand that, but you still do a physical exam. You listen to their heart and lungs, you look at the vital signs.
Those things that you're describing are done both for telemedicine and for in-person medication abortions.
So again, back to the first webcam abortion done in Iowa. It really hasn't been done anywhere else.
Certainly not extensively, no, sir.
Did the first patient know that?
I think with informed consent, we were very clear that this was a new service that we were offering.
So your informed consent did explain to the patient that this
And I think they had the option of choosing to elect out of having it by telemedicine and electing to have it in person. Yes, sir.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, you interview the patient over the internet, and you decide if it's a viable indication, a viable time to use the protocol you have in place, the two-medicine protocol. And then you can trigger a drawer to open, is that right?
Yes, sir.
A drawer in the room to open. Who packs that drawer? Who put that medicine in that drawer?
Typically, it might be the clinic manager, or it might be another medical staff person that's doing that. We package the mifeprex individually in a bottle, and that bottle is sealed. And that's done with either a physician or with a pharmacist. So that would not be something that anybody in the clinic potentially could do.
So a pharmacist packs that medicine?
That is correct, yes. Particularly our misoprostol, where they take the tablets
Put the
home.
medicine in the drawer.
They put the medication into the bottle and seal it. Who actually takes those bottles and puts it into the drawer and locks the drawer might vary from clinic to clinic on a day-to-day basis. Well, we designate only a few people that touch that medication. I can't tell you in every case who that would be.
But again, I'm still confused. Who designed those protocols? If it hadn't been used outside of Iowa, who designed? I still don't understand. Going back to that initial question I had for you, who designed the protocol for the webcam abortion that you use every time you go to work?
Obviously, this affiliate was instrumental in developing that, but Planned Parenthood Federation of America, the umbrella organization for all of our Planned Parenthood affiliates, was obviously very involved in that and played a large role in it as well. So, consultations, medical and legal, and technical assistance from the Federation were integral to us developing.
And Iowa got to be the first ones to use it.
As I understand it, pretty much, yes, sir.
Like an experimental protocol. It had never been used before.
But it did not meet criteria as an experimental protocol. It definitely was not. I hear where you're going with this. It was not an experiment. As you know, that's a very technical statement and requires very strict. Despite the extensive safeguards and monitoring we had in place, it was not an experimental protocol because it used the same standards that we had used with mifepristone and mifepristone for years, sir.
But it had never been used in that fashion, in that protocol, ever before.
Certainly not to the degree that we have used it since then, no.
Say that again?
Certainly not to the degree. If you say it's never been used in that fashion before, I just can't answer that one, Doctor. I can't tell you yes or no on that for sure. I'll find out and get that information to the board, I promise you.
A couple of the authors of, since we first heard from you at our public session in June, subsequent to that, I was able to review the 2011 paper, the APOG paper on the experience of this procedure in Iowa. And I see where two of the authors are here today, is that right?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Did they design this protocol?
They were very involved in it from the very beginning, yes, and I think can speak to that very directly.
And this is the first paper that had ever been published on the safety of webcam abortions, is that correct?
I would hesitate to misspeak. To my knowledge, that was certainly the first one that collected large numbers of data and crunched the numbers and presented them.
And we were doing a new procedure in Iowa that had never been done before, and we were doing a new procedure in Iowa. Is that right?
No, I don't agree with that assessment.
And where was it used before?
Mifepristone and
Via the internet. Had it ever been used anywhere else before Iowa?
I don't have the answer to that question. Certainly not a lot. Certainly not in large numbers. But could it have been done elsewhere? Yes, that's possible. This would be the largest program to date, certainly.
That really bothers me.
I sense that, sir, yes.
You know, Iowa women are, the first ones to get this fashion. Really, there's something wrong there. It just doesn't seem right. I know you inform them about it, but it's never been studied before until this paper, which was done in 2011 on the experience of Iowa. It's a paper all about Iowa. but I would appreciate if you could find out from me who designed the protocol.
It's a fair question. I suspect that the next speakers will address that, but I will do some research and make sure that information is presented to you.
And then the second part of that is, where was it done before it was done in Iowa?
Previous to Iowa.
We got to
Name is mine. Baby killers, shame on you. Baby killers, oh, what you do? You who murdered the bird, you're the scum of the earth. Baby killers, your God is saying. Baby killers, your judgment's waiting. You'll burn in hell the day you die. It's a baby, not your fetus line. Baby killers, shame on you. Baby killers, oh, what you do?